Welcome to another video. In this video, I'll install a deck using TREX Composite decking. I'll quickly show how the system works, then walk through a complete install. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe for more how-to and review videos. Now, let's get started. So, I have an existing wooden deck, and the boards are showing their age. Some need to be replaced. I've already removed all the boards in this picture. I'm replacing them with TREX Composite boards, because they will pretty much last forever, and I'll never have to worry about this again. And this system uses hidden fasteners, so the finished deck surface is clean and smooth. Here are the key points with the system. The boards have a groove running the length of the board on both sides. This is for the hidden fastener. You will need the hidden fastener kit, where one box covers 50 square feet of decking, which contains the hold-down clips, as well as some starter clips, and a bit driver. To secure the first board, these starter clips can be attached to the joist. Then the first board slips in. To continue adding boards, these clips are used on every floor joist between every board. First, get it started using a scrap board to make sure it locates properly. Then bring up the next board. Tighten the clip down and get the next one started. That's the system. I'll point out that this kit only comes with 4 of these starter clips, so if you have a long deck or additional starting boards like stair steps, you won't have enough. I've personally just screwed the first board down with composite deck screws on previous TREX decks that I've done. Now let's go through the complete installation, and I will point out some helpful tips along the way. Here are the TREX composite boards that will be used for this project. They were delivered in my driveway. Now it's time to get to work. Let's carry them all back to the deck so we can get started. Typically, I would place the first board against the house, anchor it down, and stack on boards to the end of the deck. Before I got started, I measured it, just to see how things will shake out. Unfortunately, on this specific deck, the numbers don't stack up very good. Each board is 5.5 inches wide, plus a 1/4 inch for the gap, so 5 3/4. 17 boards, minus the 1/4 inch gap on the last one, puts it at 97.5 inches. That puts the edge of the last board right here. I planned on ripping the last board to fit, but I don't want a 1 inch wide board. That's just too thin. Laying a couple boards down, this is what it will look like. This is where the last board will lay, and I'll have to fill in a 1 inch wide board at the end. No thanks. I decided to rip the first board, making the board against the house about 3 inches and the last board about 4 inches, which is way more acceptable. I have no problem with a 4 inch wide board at the end. And this board is 16 feet long, that's why it's so floppy. Then I cut it to length. Next, I placed it up against the house. Since I ripped it, the slot is gone on the backside, so I can't use those starter clips. I could rip a new slot into the back, but since this thing is 16 feet long and all noodly, doing it by myself without ruining the board is not practical. Also, the kit doesn't even have enough clips. I'm going to anchor it by running some deck screws through the top, so there'll be some screw heads on this board only. Before we start stacking on boards, I want to point this out. I've got the second board laying here. There's no gap on this side, but a significant gap on the other side. Tight, no gap, tight, no gap, and a gap starts to open up. Something's not straight. Either a board is bowed or the face of the house is bowed. So we need to make a choice. I don't want my final board looking like a banana. So I measured from the face of the first board to the end of the deck, on both ends and in the center, and it was the same in all 3 spots. So I'm going to follow the first board. It should end up straight at the end. So let's start installing these clips and throwing on boards. Use a piece of scrap board to align the clip and get it started. Don't tighten it all the way down, just get the screw started. Now slide the next board up and position the clips in the slot. Next, with the clip securely in the slot, tighten down the screw of that clip. Then get a new clip and the scrap board and get the next clip started. Just start the screw, don't tighten it all the way down. This pins this section of the board in place so it doesn't move. Otherwise, when I start pushing the board in down here, it'll pop out what I just did right here. And keep going down the line and get that board secured. Now, one last final thing before we start slapping boards on. I still haven't secured this first board. It's currently just held in place with the clips on the front, which is not acceptable. It needs to be screwed down on each joist. I'll be using these generic composite deck screws by Grip Right because that's what was on the shelf at the store, and I needed some screws. I continued along and screwed it down at every joist. Now this first board is secured and we can start throwing on boards. So let's do it. As I went down the line, I tightened the clip between the two boards and immediately installed a new clip to block it in. Over and over and over and over. I used around 200 clips. As I do this, you might notice that the boards are hanging over on the end. I wanted full-length boards, so there's no gaps or seams or screws in the deck. This is the minimum length board that would cover it. I would have wanted 14-foot long boards, but the options jump from 12 to 16, so these are 16-footers. And I have a couple 12-foot boards for the front because it tapers in. And here we are on the final board. We've got the clips holding in the back side of the board, and on the front side, as expected, there's some overhang. We'll screw it down with the deck screws, like on that first board, to secure it. Then, rip the front edge to match the front face of the rim joist. I measured from the face of the board to the face of the rim joist, at all joists, and as expected, because we checked at the beginning, it was uniform. It's not a goofy banana shape, so we can rip it on the table saw. And this is a 12-foot board, which is way more manageable than that 16-foot board. Next, I set it into place. Then secured it with deck screws and tightened down the hidden clips. And here we are with all the composite deck boards installed, and they're intentionally hanging off the ends. I will be drawing a straight line and cutting them to match the rim joist. Here, here, and here. That would be way cleaner than trying to pre-cut everything. So let's pull out the circular saw and get to it. And here we are. Everything is cut and looking nice and straight. I intentionally cut everything a 1/4 inch inset from the face of the rim joist, and I'll show you why. There are several ways to finish the edge, such as trim strips or the picture frame method, but this is what I'm going to do. Just using this scrap piece as an example, I'm going to use PVC trim board and cover the face of the rim joist all the way around. Flush with the top of the deck boards. This 1/4 inch gap all the way around will match the 1/4 inch gap in between the deck boards. This gap provides drainage for water and debris, and clearance for thermal expansion. And the PVC trim board will also hide these cut edges, which are undesirable in appearance. I will also be adding PVC trim board here below the door. This was previously wood, but wood is being eliminated. So that covers this TREX Composite deck install. I knocked it out in a day. It took me about 7 hours, but that also included extra time for filming things, and I also ate lunch and stuff. Of course, I have more work to do, but this covers the TREX portion. There are definitely different ways to finish the edges, and I recommend checking out some other tutorials. But I hope you found some helpful tips and information in this video. As always, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more how-to and review videos. Drop any comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.